At the current time in today's market, I believe the statements that many different officials are making, those very close to Trump, should be at the top of mind to all of you guys watching today's video. And that's why I'm making this for you guys, the XRP Army, because I have some news to share with all of you wonderful people. And I just want to start by talking about this. Okay, a top aide to none other than a President Trump has accused India of financing Russia in their ongoing conflict. This is just 24 hours ago. Indian officials said India will buy Russian oil despite President Trump's basic recommendations to not do so. Obviously, this is something that is a concern because India was going to be the next sort of U.S. focus when it comes to manufacturing relationship. And so if this relationship does start to deteriorate, it's going to pose a lot of very important questions for what is going to happen in the United States of America, specifically with manufacturing and the growth of their GDP or potentially the shrinkage of their GDP. Now, we have yet to see this play out in full, but I am presuming that next week, this is going to be the big talk, the big tale that everyone's going to be talking about. India, United States of America, and trade conflicts with Canada, United States, and probably some other countries will enter into the mix as well. Now, I do think that this is a very unpredictable market and it can go either way next week. And I actually do think that there's probably a lot more upside than downside. I'll get into why I think that is the case. But before we do that, I do also want to point out the U.S. manufacturing recession that are currently seeing. We can see that the ISM manufacturing PMI index decreased to -1 point in July to 48, the lowest since November of 2024. This marks the fifth consecutive monthly contraction, and as a result, the U.S. manufacturing sector has now shrunk in 31 of the last 33 months. The ISM report also showed its sixth straight monthly contractions and new orders. Furthermore, the employment index fell 1.6 points to 43.4, its lowest since 2020. This comes as 25% of U.S. manufacturers reduced their payrolls last month, the highest share since June of 2020. U.S. manufacturing needs help. Now, there are two ways that we can all look at this news. On the one hand, can see, okay, there's a contraction that is bearish. This is bad for us manufacturing. It's probably going to continue to contract with tariffs. That's one way of looking at it. But the other way of looking at it is the fact that if we go and look at this chart right here, we look at the quarter of us manufacturers reporting lower employment and what happened immediately thereafter. It actually tells a much more compelling story, which I think is a potential bullish sign. It might sound crazy, but you need to listen. If we go back to June of 2020, what you can very clearly see in the months leading up to this, there was a huge imbalance of U.S. manufacturers reporting lower income. It was well above this median line right here. This was right, of course, around the time of the pandemic. And what we saw very shortly after is this fell astronomically. Now, why was that? Well, if you guys recall, during this period of time right here, right after, there was a massive imbalance with the U.S. manufacturers. Stimulus started, in other words, money printing galore. And this, of course, created more demand for U.S. manufacturing and resulted in a lot more people having access to capital, making purchases, and the employment rates eventually actually started to plummet or rise, which plummeted this chart. This is actually something that is potentially going to lead to rate cuts. If there is a ton of pressure on the economy, inflation and all of these sort of things are under check, but the amount of business that's being had in the United States of America needs a boost. The easiest way to do that is through rate cuts. And it looks like we're actually leading up towards this being the case and potentially us having an extended bull market as a result of this, but we will see how this plays out. And I'm really excited for this because if this does play out similarly to how it did back in 2020, it means that rate cuts are actually much closer than many people perhaps thought. So that's great, but there's other bullish things to pay attention to right here as well, including if we go over to the crypto charts, what we'll notice is most cryptocurrencies are currently in a state of being completely oversold. The stochastic RSI, a prime example, we've been oversold now since the late days of July, and that XRP is not the only one. If you look at the charts, everything is green today. It's a wonderful day for a number of cryptocurrencies gaining a lot of liquidity. You can see Ethereum is also, of course, oversold. Bitcoin, surprise, surprise, it is also oversold, and we're starting to see a little trend towards the upside. And if we have any movement anywhere now, ear to similar to what we had recently for XRP, Bitcoin, and Ethereum, it's going to be very explosive. I want to remind you guys on the 22nd of June right here, we were oversold and then we trended towards being overbought. And we stayed there for about an entire month before we finally saw our correction, which we are in right now. But of course, today marks the first green day or substantial green day following this correction, which is a very great indication that there's a lot of upside here in the very near future. Now, when we look at some other different charts like the Fibonacci Bollinger Bands, the one that you're looking at right here, what you can see is the bands are starting to tighten, which once again signifies that we're getting ready for a nice big move. Now, you can see most notably, this happened very recently right up here that the bands did tighten right here, as you can see, and then we moved to the downside and we're seeing that starting to happen right here. But we're trading at the median purple line right now, which is an amazing, amazing potential opportunity for us to actually test the top resistance lines again over the next few days. And I do think that no matter what way we look at it next week is going to be extremely, extremely volatile. And it could be volatile to the upside. It could be volatile to the downside. We could have trade deals figured out, which will cause a lot of positive momentum. We could have conflicts grow and uncertainty grow, which could cause potentially more downside, like we saw a couple days ago with all the things that we covered on this channel. So we're here to prepare ourselves for whichever way the markets decide to go. If I can lower my average entry for XRP after a big correction, I am not going to complain. And if the markets blow up and my XRP holdings grow with it, once again, I'm not going to complain. That's absolutely amazing for me. So with that being said, I just want to say, if you guys want to get access to all of my trades, every single entry, every single exit that I do have, you can get access to that right now for free. I've had months where I've consistently closed between 100 to 400% a month up, and you guys can get access to every single trade that we're making there, every single entry, every single exit, my complete history. You can look that. I walk the talk. Okay, I walk it every single day. So to join you to sign up, one of my two partnered exchanges, BTCC or BitNext, if you use my links, you also get huge bonuses. And we do have a huge trading competition currently happening on Being X as well, with insane prizes for all of you wonderful people. So yeah, sign up there if you guys do want to be part of that trading competition. Once again, you can only enter in if you use my link to make sure you use it. From there, you just deposit on the exchange with $500 worth of any crypto. Then you submit your email and exchange user ID in this form right here. And that is that, guys. I really look forward to seeing many of you join into the Discord in the Telegram. Check the links out down below to do that. And please also, while you're down there, read the disclaimer just to ensure you're in the appropriate region, all that kind of stuff. And of course, you're following all your local regulations, all that stuff. Nothing I say is financial advice. Please keep that in mind. Thank you guys for watching today's video. Much love. Peace out.